you can save assets and keep your benefits. A Griffin Hammes production, tailored for Utah.
Hey, I just got a job, and I'm ready to celebrate.
Congratulations, that's great news.
Yeah, I'm tired of having so little money. Now I'll be able to buy the things I want. I'd really like to start saving some money, too, but I can't.
Why not?
Because I get government benefits. They told me if I save too much, I'll lose my benefits.
Which government benefits do you get?
I get SSI, Medicaid, and food stamps.
Well, those benefits do have limits on savings, but there are ways you can save money or other assets and still keep your benefits.
What's an asset?
An asset is something you own, like a house, a car, or a retirement account. Sometimes an asset is also called a resource. Some assets grow in value over time, like a house or a retirement account, so you can build wealth.
Okay, so you're saying I can save money or assets and still keep my benefits? Can I do that legally?
You sure can. There are some assets that don't count against the resource limits for SSI, Medicaid, food stamps, or other benefits. That means you can have those assets, no matter how much they are worth, and still keep your benefits. For example, the house you live in doesn't count as a resource for these programs, no matter how much it's worth. Neither does one car that you own.
Well, that's a good start. I'd like to buy a house someday, and I could really use a car.
Well, there's a way you can save money to buy a house and still keep your benefits.
Really? How?
It's called an Individual Development Account, or IDA. It's an account that lets you save money to buy a house, start a business, or go to college or trade school. The great thing about an IDA is you get matching funds. That means if you save enough in your account, you'll get extra money. And the matching funds will be even more than the amount of your own money that you saved.
That's terrific. I like the idea of getting paid extra if I save money.
It's a great deal. And most IDAs don't count as resources, so they don't affect your benefits.
Okay, but is there any way I can save money for other things? I'd like to have some money in case I need it for an emergency or so I can retire someday.
Here's an idea. If your disability started before your 26th birthday, then you might qualify for an ABLE account. That's an account that lets you save money without affecting your benefits. You can spend the money on housing, transportation, job needs, medical expenses, and lots of other things. There's a limit on how much you can save each year, but if you're working for pay, it's over $27,000.
Wow, that's more than my whole income.
Yeah, it is pretty high.
It still might not be enough, though. My grandmother told me she wants to leave me some money in her will, and I think it's more than $27,000. Is there any way I can get that money and still keep my benefits?
There is a way. An ABLE account wouldn't work for that much money, but you could use a special needs trust. It's a special account your grandmother could set up for you. The money in the trust doesn't count as a resource, and there's no limit on how much money can be put into it at one time.
So what would my grandmother need to do?
She'd set up the trust with the help of a lawyer, or she could open an account in something called a pooled trust. Then she'd change her will to leave the money to the trust instead of to you. That way, the money wouldn't affect your benefits. There's a catch, though. Another person, called a trustee, would have to manage the money for you, but they could only use the money to pay for expenses for you.
I think I get it. Do I have any other options?
Here's one more choice for you. It's called the Medicaid Work Incentive Program. Suppose you didn't have an ABLE account or a special needs trust, and you saved too much money to keep your Medicaid.
Whoa, I can't afford to lose my Medicaid.
Well, that's where the Medicaid Work Incentive Program comes in. It would let you keep your Medicaid if you're working. It's a great safety net that protects Medicaid for workers with disabilities.
But how could I keep my Medicaid if I save too much money?
Because the Medicaid Work Incentive Program has a much higher resource limit than other kinds of Medicaid. It also doesn't count retirement accounts as resources, so you can save money for retirement and still keep your Medicaid.
So, let me see if I have this straight. I can buy a house or a car and keep my benefits. I can use an IDA to help me buy a house, and that won't affect my benefits either. I can save money in an ABLE account or get a lot of money from my grandmother in a special needs trust and still keep my benefits. And if I save too much money to keep my Medicaid, I can get Medicaid another way, the Medicaid Work Incentive Program, right?
Right.
It's good to know I can save money and still keep benefits I need. How can I find out more about these options to save?
You can call the Disability Law Center at 800-662-9080 for help understanding these programs and planning for your future. Knowledge is power. Take time to learn more about saving assets and keeping benefits.